Welcome back to the Stadium of Light. Sunderland have come through this afternoon with a one-goal win against Reading. It didn't look at one point it was going to happen, but they persisted. And particularly, they had more intent in the second half, didn't they, Danny?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they upped it. They needed to as well. First half, it wasn't great. A bit pedestrian, as we said, on the ball. Sticky pitch. It is difficult, and some fans will say it's the same for both teams. Yeah, but it's the way we play, isn't it? Reading were happy, I think, to come up here, sit back, soak it up, and say, "Are you good enough to break us down?" And in that first half, we didn't create much. A couple of balls out wide, wasn't it, coming to the box we got on the end of, but keeper didn't have a save to make. Setting off early on, we had a couple of opportunities, and I think Patrick was the one driving us on. Really, he was getting on the ball, he was coming deep at times to pick it up, and it was just that another 5-10%, and that's all it needed really. They made one or two changes themselves, trying to see the game out, but fortunately in the end it was a scrappy goal in a way, really. Although Patrick picked it up, he was driving through, got a little bit of fortune, but tucks it away, and that was the difference. And this stage of the season, you'll take those dirty 1-0 wins. Coming here today, I fancied us for a 3-0, but I did chat to a fan just before we went on air, and he said, "Do you know what, I'll take a dirty 1-0 today," and that's exactly what it was in the end.
Yes, it was 1-0 to Sunderland in the end, and going into half-time, Dan, we said this game needs something, and he made all the subs in the second half, but there was definitely more intent in the second half. Tony Mowbray definitely said something to them at half-time, because Reading were there for the taking all afternoon, really. I can't recall maybe a shot on target from them.
Yeah, they had a couple of openings, didn't they? And at Tom Ince it was 3 or 4, and he's the one player Reading would perhaps want it to drop to. He had a couple of air shots in the second half, didn't he? That one that dropped down to him, 30 seconds or so on the clock, but it come from us being a little bit loose on the ball. But that was it really. They didn't cut us open. They were relying on maybe balls going into Andy Carroll in and around the box, knockdowns, but didn't see too much of that. And I'm not sure Anthony Patterson had a save to make in the second half, so it was quiet at that end of the pitch, and then it was all about, can we up it, a little bit of tempo, a little bit of creativity, and we did. I thought we grew into the game, and it just needed that, said 5-10% more, and that's what we weren't at our best all afternoon, but we just had a little bit more in that second half. And you give us another 10 or so of those between now and the end of the season, and I'm sure most of the fans would take that.
Yeah, let's have a look at the action then from the game this afternoon. This is how it went for Sunderland. Some of the key moments here we're watching, obviously starting in the first half here.
Yeah, this is one for Dan Barlow, and it's those free kicks, and I thought, Patrick, I said, was trying to drive us on, but I thought his distribution was good from set plays as well. He put some good balls into the box from that far side. And there's one for Reading now. It's Junior Hoylate, it drops to, and Adjulisa gets the block in. So half chances for Reading as well. And in that first half, we said 2 minutes went up, didn't it, at half time, and there was a few boos, but I think most people were happy for the half to end really, and to get them in and to come out and say, can we up it in that second half?
Yeah.
And it is the other one, isn't it? This is the other ball in from Patrick, and Adji gets himself between the two defenders. Just have a look at it back from this angle. Maybe didn't get up and over the top of the ball there to try and get it on target. He was
an interesting one this afternoon, because he finished the game almost as a striker.
He did in that second half. It was interesting. 1 minute you'd look up, he's in left back position.
Sunderland had possession. He was allowed to go up top.
Get on your bike, get through.
If Reading had possession, he had to go back to left back.
So he's had to cover a lot of distance in that second half, Adji. But I thought he'd done really well. He had that good opportunity, which we'll see as well in the second half in a moment or so. One for Joe Gellard there. Difficult one, ball coming in, it was just slightly behind him, and he couldn't get the power on him, and I think it maybe come off his shoulder as well on that one there into the second half. Now he's offside anyway. That was, I think, the move where Patrick was driving forward, but we were getting some of these opportunities. This one here was a difficult one for him. It's slipped through from Michu. He's going away from goal.
Does Sarr do enough there?
Yeah, I was going to say centre half's getting back at him, big Sarr there. So I think if he takes a touch, he's going to get a tackle in on that next one. So, do you know what? He wrong foots the keeper Lumley. He's almost in no man's land, but unfortunately just passes it, past the far post, doesn't he? Can't get it on target.
What did you make of his performance overall this afternoon?
A little bit frustrated. He'll be frustrated. He's doing a lot of work off the ball, trying to get the openings, but it's just not quite happening for him. Last week he didn't really have a clear-cut opportunity. This week he's had that half chance with the header in the first half, and that one there, as we see, trying to run in behind. And there's the one from what we're saying about Adjulisa now. He's a great first touch on the stretch, isn't it? And as it drops, he's on the half volley, just can't keep over it and keep it on target. But now we see this is what we're used to seeing this season from us, aren't we? We got the right back there over on the left hand side, Trey Hume. And the only thing there Trey does, because he wants to get it onto his right foot, he takes it back in towards the defender. You'll see there, and it allows him to get the challenge, and he just gets it. It's Tom Ince actually. See there, just gets a block in it into the keeper's gloves. But you could see already now we're getting into some good areas in that final third. We're getting balls out wide. We're getting, look at the 5-6 bodies in the box there. Patrick Roberts there, strike away, and there's Adji again. And to be fair, keeper, it comes off him quite quick onto Adji. He's only 4 or 5 yards away from him, so he can't take it under control. But we win the corner. You see it from this one now. Alex Pritchard's on at this stage, and we're getting good numbers forward. Good touch on Patrick, puts his foot through it. Save from keeper there, look, bang, and it's onto Adji. It comes off his right knee, doesn't it, and he can't get it under control.
It's interesting, he must be doing something in training at Analyse to find himself in that position, and the trust put into him by Tony Mowbray. We saw him when he first came into the side. He did like to get in the box, didn't he?
I think, it was Watford, wasn't it, when he got the goal? Remember that one? Yeah, he was getting forward quite a bit there, but it is a strange one at the same time. Now, you could say, looking for a little bit of physical presence, so you've only got 3 players really.
I think that's what it is, isn't
squad.
it? A bit of height.
Yeah, you've got Dan Ballard, Danny Bart, and Adji, so they're pushing him forward. At the same time, while the game's in the balance at 0-0, you're always there to be on the counter attack, really, with down this right hand side for Reading, but they didn't capitalise on it really. And there's Patrick again, another strike away.
That would have been a sweet one, that, wouldn't it?
But we were better in that second half. We can see from the clips here, we've had 5 or 6 opportunities where we've got bodies forward. There's Patrick. It's almost a toe poke, that one, isn't it? It's just over the top of the crossbar. Jack involved in the build-up play as well. And here's the goal now, and it comes about, it's a good move from Patrick in terms of the give and go, but Reading are going to be really disappointed when they see it back.
What in particular will they be disappointed about?
Keep he was in the orange boots there, watch now, he just tries to stand on the ball to roll it away from Patrick, and he gets it wrong. And then Scott Dan comes across, and as we said there, he can't put the brakes on. And Patrick, you know what he wants to go, he wants to go onto his left foot. You see it back from this angle up there, look, gets him, he stands on the ball and gets it wrong, doesn't he? And then they come across. They've got loads of, they've got 6 or 7 players back in their own box, Reading, but the one player, there's a couple in our squad actually, and Patrick Ahmad, these types of players you want in that situation.
The little feint just puts
Lumley
on his
shoulders
feet,
drop, doesn't it, and then bangs past Lumley before he knows it. And then right at the end here, Tom Ince, Tommy's had a few opportunities this afternoon, and that one there rolled across to him, centre of the goal. Maybe looked to pass it into that right hand side, but wasn't to be for him. Wasn't his day in front of goal from our point of view. Delighted, 3 points on the board. Let's have a look where that leaves us.
Let's see what that does to the rest of the championship. We'll have a look at the latest scores first. It was Blackpool 0, Rotherham United 0, Bristol City 1, Norwich City 0, Burnley 3, steamrolling their head at the top there. Burnley 3-0 against Preston North End. Cardiff beaten by 3-1 at home to Middlesbrough. Coventry City 1, Luton 1, Queen's Park Rangers 1, Millwall 2. Of course, Sunderland travelled to Queen's Park Rangers on Tuesday. Sheffield United 3, Swansea 0. So Sheffield United going toe-to-toe with Burnley in results at the top end of the table. Stoke 0, Hull City 0. And that helps neither side out there. Watford 1, Blackburn Rovers 1. Another draw for Blackburn, who didn't draw till so late in the season. And Wigan, a precious 1-0 win against Huddersfield this afternoon.
There's a couple of results gone for us there. I think if you leave it on the screen for a second, I think you've obviously you said there Burnley and Sheffield United running away with it, really, those two, aren't they? But in terms of the playoffs, Norwich getting beat away at Bristol City, Middlesbrough, good result for them away at Cardiff, Luton drawing 1-1, Luton in and around us, Millwall 1's gone against us, and then Watford and Blackburn, that's probably a decent result for us as well, so we've gained a couple of points on a few teams there.
Let's see what it does to the Sky Bet Championship this afternoon. Sunderland sit in 7th, just a point outside of those playoff places. Danny, having played 30 games, goal difference is looking healthy as well. And the teams around us: Watford reading upwards, Millwall, Luton, Middlesbrough, and we've competed with all those sides around us. Blackburn dropping below us as well for the first time in a while.
Yeah, they've had a tough patch, Blackburn. It's that minus goal difference forever, haven't they? But you're looking at Watford have played a game more than us as well. I think we've still got to play them at the Stadium of Light, haven't we? And I get sucked in as well, like fans. Well, you stand here now. There's still a long way to go, but you're looking at the position we're in. We're in a great position. Norwich changed their manager recently. They had a couple of great results, and then all of a sudden they've lost a couple, I think, as well.
It's funny though, Danny, because if results go our way on Tuesday night, another chance to go 5th.
Another chance, we keep saying another chance to get into the playoffs, and we've been there or thereabouts, haven't we, for a long time now. And You see Middlesbrough, what happened to them under Michael Carrick? You know, we beat them recently, but they're flying, aren't they? They've had some great results. He's doing a great job there.
Played a game more
Luton
than us
as well. You know, changed the manager. Nathan Jones obviously going to Southampton.
It's Millwall who are the success story at the moment.
Millwall,
They've played a couple of games less than some of the teams
as well on some teams. Yeah, and you see how difficult it is when you go down there last week. Although we took care of them after the World Cup, didn't we? 3-0 up at the Stadium Light. But yeah, they'll be tough to beat, Millwall. You know, they know their game. They're organised, and they'll upset a few teams. But we've got to keep on doing our job, haven't we? Keep churning the results out, and that's a massive result today. It is a massive result. Sunderland get another home win and a clean sheet as well, Danny, of course. Yeah, that's important as well, for the lads at the back, and they deserved it, you know. I think you've asked for a man of the match there, and I've gone through, the two centre-halves again were excellent, big and strong, and they needed to be up against Andy Carroll. You know, Shane Long was quiet, wasn't he, to be honest, and then both full-backs as well. We've said about Adji almost a centre-forward in that second half. Trey Hume again was excellent on that right-hand side. He's got a good spring about him. He's composed on the ball. I've just enjoyed watching him. Since he's got into the team, he's just grown and grown. Let's have a look at your thoughts then as we do our post-game feature. #AskDanny. Glenn's been in touch. Great example of take the 3 and move on. Do you think we can retain a playoff spot with our obvious lack of a target man? Reading were awful with their time wasting. Got to say this quietly because Paul Ince's doing interviews and the governor might hear me. I'm in earshot. He says they were time wasting from the start. We said that, didn't he? A Florida Macam watching in is Glenn. Thanks very much, Glenn, for watching this afternoon. They were time wasting from the start. Referee didn't do anything about it.
No, I think they're not having a good time of it in recent weeks. You know, when we played them at their place, we said they were third in the table, weren't they? And then all of a sudden, I think they've won 6 games since we played them, and they've played 21 games now. So they're struggling for form and results. So coming up to the Stadium Light, most teams are going to do it. You're not going to come up here and take us on toe-to-toe if you're not in form. More than likely there's only going to be one winner. So they come up here, they sit deep, back 5 at times, they're 3 in the middle.
And I said about 20 seconds before they scored, I said, if it stays like this, it would have been job done by them, wouldn't it?
Yeah, they'd have been delighted, I think, take the points. They didn't really offer much going forward in that second half, even first half, really. We created their chances in a way. But yeah, they'd have been delighted, but wasn't to be. And they're going to slow the game down. I'm sure Paul Ince would have said to them in the change rooms, every opportunity, take your time. The crowd might be, get on top of you, but just play the game. You might take 1 or 2 yellow cards off the ref to hurry it up, but he never did it. You said it early on, it was the left back wasn't had the chance to.
Yeah.
He slowed it down. The boos were coming, but in the end, as I said there, take the 3 and move on. Exactly that. We weren't at our best today, but it's a good sign when you're not at your best and you're still picking up the 3 points and you keep going. If it doesn't happen in that first half, if it doesn't happen after an hour, keep plugging away. And that's what we did. And just that little bit of quality in the second half, a little bit up the game slightly, didn't we?
Yeah.
We weren't at our best, but sometimes you don't have to be to win games of football.
Let's have a look at another thought then from one of our fans. This one's from Safi, who says, Danny, are the lads knackered from the midweek cup game? If not, how else do we explain holding our own against a Premier League side, then play a boring game against Reading? Is this more about consistency or fitness? Watching in from Toronto, a Canadian Sunderland Black Cat. Great to have you on board, Safi.
Yeah, I mentioned it in the comms, didn't I? I said, I'm not saying it's an excuse, but the lads put a lot in, and it was 10 of the 11, wasn't it? It was only Gellard that didn't play
because he couldn't.
For Abdullah Bar on Wednesday night, and it was a tough one. Conditions weren't great. It was windy. A lot of energy put into that performance. It was quite an open game, and then we didn't freshen it up in terms of making 4 or 5 changes. Plus, Reading didn't have a midweek fixture. They played last week, so yeah, you'd expect them to be the freshest side. Although I don't think it was a case of them being better than us in terms of energy around the pitch. We just weren't quite at our best. I've mentioned the pitch as well, and again, fans are going to say and watch this. Well, it's the same pitch for both teams. Well, yes, it is, but the type of football we tried to play, that slick surface wasn't quite there today. Not having a dig at the ground staff, by the way. It's just conditions in recent weeks.
Very cold conditions, haven't we, in the northeast of England over the last couple of months, really.
Yeah, exactly, and it'll come back in the next few weeks, hopefully. But yeah, we just weren't there. And I said there on the comms, it's the ball speed. It wasn't quite there today. Lacking decision making. I've said it in the last couple, maybe taking 3, 4, 5 touches instead of moving the ball on. And it's a difficult one. We've got lads in the team who like to pick the ball up and dribble with it. And when it's a bit dry, bit bobbly, it's not quite as easy as that. So sometimes let the ball do the running, and we didn't do that in the first half. Second half was a bit better, but hopefully they're not knackered because there's a lot of football still to be played.
A lot of football.
It was a young squad. We know it's a young squad. We keep seeing players going into the treatment room, 1 or 2 returning. We said it earlier, it's a bit of a revolving door, Still 1 or 2 to come back as well, isn't there? Dennis Erkin, Lyndon Gooch off the top of my head. And obviously Ross Stewart's long-termer. But they've got to dig in. We're in a good position. Listen, there's going to be twists and turns between now and the end of the season. But if we can kick on, we keep going, and they'll be confident, the boys. Yes, they're a young group, but you've got Danny Barton there, you've got Alex Pritchard, Corey Evans. Yes, Corey's not playing at this moment in time with his injury as well. But they're in and around the boys at the training ground.
Yep.
And they've got to keep going, they've got to keep digging in at times when it's going to be tough on the pitch. And you can feel it a little bit today, frustration, but that's because of the standards they've set so far this season. But they stuck with him, got behind them second half, and we managed to get over the line. So there's going to be games like that up there. Teams will have watched, as I said there, seen us against Fulham on Wednesday. We more than held our own in both of those games. So teams are going to know they'll do their homework on us. Thursday, Friday, you're in the meeting rooms. What are Sunderland's strengths? Well, they like to get the ball down. They like to play through the thirds. We're going to come up here. We're going to sit in, make it difficult. The crowd might get on their backs a little bit, but we've got to be big. You've got to be strong, and you've got to ride through that. And hopefully, you come out on the right end of the results.
Let's have a look at another one of your thoughts here on hashtag Ask Danny. From Arkansas, USA, is Chris, and he says, as a Whitburn boy, it amused me for Niall Quinn to say the Charlie Hurley training ground was the coldest place on earth. Does Danny have any amusing memories of the Charlie Hurley training ground? Was it in action when you were here?
Well, I've got to tell Chris, I'm not actually that old. The new training ground was built before I came to the stadium. I think it was early 2000s.
However, we were speaking to Jill Scott on this week's
right,
SAFC Unfiltered, and she said when she first started at Sunderland, the ladies at the time, they weren't even allowed on the actual training ground. It was a field out the back of the Charlie Hurley training ground. It's a great listen, that, by the way. Sponsored by Alpha Security. If you do get a chance, subscribe to SAFC Unfiltered. But yeah,
training ground. I can only go off the new training ground, the Academy of Light, and I was up there this morning watching the 18s actually. But listen, the wind comes in. Some days you go out there for training, the balls are just blowing down. You're trying to do crossing and finishing exercises or some exercise, and it kills the session because wind picks up and there's a pile of balls just blowing down the training ground, which isn't ideal. But you get on with it. I think they planted some trees 15 years or so ago. I don't think they've kicked in yet.
Bent over in the wind.
Bending over in the wind. But no, listen, it's a decent facility. I think outside it could do with a little bit of freshening up. I'm sure it's something that the club are looking at moving forward. But no, I enjoyed it there. But unfortunately, I can't tell him about Charlie Hurley because the club are long gone when I came to the club.
Yeah, the gates actually from the Charlie Hurley training ground are in the car park.
That's
now,
right,
have you noticed them?
Yeah.
No, there you go.
They are, yeah.
Let's have a look at the final thought here on hashtag Ask Danny this afternoon from Seth. Strong picture from Seth there. He says, this should be a great run to the end. Fan of our youth and depth we have. Away from Detroit. Thanks, Seth. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, well, he says what a great run to the end. I presume he's on about going to the end of the season. There's still a lot of football to be played, isn't there? But we're in a good position.
Yep.
You just see that there from the table, and you can only take care of your own results and hope that one or two go for you, and that's what's happened today. Looking at the other results, and we go down to QPR Tuesday night, and QPR, similar to Reading in a way, they were up there earlier in the season, weren't they?
Absolutely.
Change of manager, they've dropped off it in recent weeks as well. But the boys will be confident anywhere they go, whether it's at Stadium of Light or away from home.
Arguably play better away from here, don't they?
Yeah, because the onus is on the home team, really, isn't it? To take the game by the scruff of the neck, and then you maybe see the openings for us on the counter-attack as well. So we'll see, but yeah, we'll keep plugging away. And I say there, how do footballers become confident by winning games of football? Momentum, consistency, key words in football. And at this moment in time, we've got young lads in there, but you can go both ways. You can say they're fearless because you know they've come up here, everything feels rosy at this moment in time. We're having a good season in the Championship, so they'll be full of confidence. And obviously we've added one or two. He's on about the strength in depth there. It's been well talked about, obviously, in terms of the top end of the pitch.
Everywhere else, all right.
Yeah, I'd say everywhere else. One or two injuries, could do with a few back. Niall Huggins, he keeps coming back in for a game or two. And
he's getting a manager's return, we understand.
Yeah, I think. But when we've got a full squad to pick from, we're not sure. But unfortunately, and throughout the course of a season, you're not really going to have a full squad to pick from. You're going to pick up injuries. That's natural, isn't it? But I just think at the top end there, Joe comes off there, and we have to chop and change it a little bit at the top end of the pitch, aren't we? But we are where we are. We've got to get on with it between now and the end of the season. Ross isn't going to be back until next season. Hopefully that Joe can kick in to form, get himself some goals between now and the end of the season, and then the other boys are chipping in, like Patrick has done today. Like
and he
Jack
did last time.
Like Ahmad has. These boys, I said at the start of the season, they should be aiming
between 5 and 10 goals. Not if all of those boys are getting somewhere between there, which they are doing now. If you look at the figures, then we'll be okay. And then look at the other end of the pitch as well. You got those two centre halves, solid.
Yeah.
I really like it. I watched Dan Ballard and I think what a player he is.
Yeah. And Danny Bart's having a great season as well.
He does the defensive work of it really well. Do you want to have a word? Oh, sorry, Luke 9's just come out the tunnel there. We're just wondering if he wants to come and have it. I think he's tucking into a Jaffa cake at the moment in time. But no, it's just that, bottom end of the pitch, I say, when everyone's fit, it's good competition for places and throughout the team. And then hopefully, as I say, the boys stay fit between now and the end of the season. We can have a right good go at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that brings us to an end on today's programme. We'll be back on Tuesday evening against QPR. It's a 7:45 kickoff down at Loftus Road, so we'll be on air from 7:15 here on SAFC Live. For that one, go to safc.com for full streaming details. We'll see you very soon.